Hello, Nasdaq followers, and welcome to another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight. I'm your host, Leanne Alfaro. Joining me today is the CEO of Karyopharm Therapeutics. It's one of our most exciting companies within the biopharmaceutical companies portfolio. Thank you so much for joining us. Right now is Dr. Michael Kaufman. So you have big news today, pretty big news.
We have pretty big news. A couple of weeks ago, the FDA approved our very first product called Xpovio for patients with refractory myeloma. We're super excited. Brand new therapy, new mechanism of action, oral cancer drug.
And it's no small feat. Now, we've been following your company's growth since first listing here at Nasdaq in 2013. So start by telling us a little bit more about Xpovio and what it will do for patients.
Sure. The drug was actually invented by our founder, Dr. Sharon Shacham, who's also our president. She's also my wife. It was discovered at Karyopharm. It's been in clinical trials since 2012. We were public on Nasdaq in 2013, and we tested it in patients with multiple myeloma, which is a form of cancer, unfortunately a fatal form of cancer, whose disease has progressed after all of the great available therapies for that. And we really waited until the patients had exhausted available therapies. And what we saw was about a quarter of the patients had a major response to the drug and went on to show what appeared to be a better survival and are doing well. This is an accelerated approval, so it's only based on the response rate.
So very new. Now, tell us overall the approach that Karyopharm takes towards cancer drugs and solutions. How is it different from the way other companies might approach it?
You know, this is an entirely new approach to the treatment of cancer, and it's actually a mechanism that's potentially relevant to all types of cancer. The drug works by inhibiting a protein called XPO1, hence the name of the drug, Xpovio. And it works because it blocks XPO1, which leads to the increase in levels of the policeman proteins in your body, in each cell of your body, whose job it is to fight cancer. And these policeman proteins are sort of kicked out of the cell nucleus, which is where they do their job, by cancer cells. When you give our drug, these proteins come back into the nucleus, they stay there, they do their policing function, and if you're a cancer cell, they will kill you. So that's how the drug works. This is an entirely new approach, and we're the first people to do it.
Now, are there other kinds of medicine that that Xpovio could be used for?
Yeah, there's different cancers. This sort of mechanism where the policemen of cancer, that our own natural proteins whose job it is to fight cancer, are kicked out of the nucleus, and our drug puts them back into the nucleus, which is how they fight cancer, is actually relevant to many types of cancer. We have studies going on in a form of lymphoma, in patients with liposarcoma, with uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, brain cancer, et cetera. So we hope to see multiple submissions for regulatory authorities in the upcoming months and years, and additional approvals across many different types of cancer.
And tell us about the response so far. Obviously, this has been very recent news. You said it's been a very busy day in the city.
Yeah, so on the investor side, there's been an awful lot of interest. It's one of the first small biotechnology companies to bring a new drug out for this disease, multiple myeloma. In general, the other companies that have brought out these kinds of drugs are Celgene, Takeda, Amgen, Janssen, and so on. We're the first small company to do so. This was a drug also that was invented entirely inside our company. And we brought it through development and then regulatory approval. And the reception by doctors and by patients, we think, is going to be very positive. Of course, we'll have to wait and see, but a new mechanism, an oral drug, different set of patients, and patients who've really exhausted therapies, people are pretty excited.
And FDA approval is no small feat. Like I said, we've been tracking your growth over the last few years. What would you say have been some of the major drivers for success for Karyopharm?
This is a company where failure really isn't an option, and I think that's one of our great drivers. We have a set of values we call the ICURE, ICURE values: innovation, courage, urgency, resilience, and energy. We have a very diverse workforce, people from all over. I think we have 23 or 24 countries represented. We have people that have really stopped at nothing. We've had a long process with FDA. We kept working with them to a positive conclusion. We have our own commercial sales team as well. We have scientists in the company, medical doctors, clinical operations, et cetera. So we're really a fully integrated small pharmaceutical company that really never took no for an answer and just kept believing in our drug, putting patients first, and bringing this drug to market.
Innovation, courage, resilience, and energy, I think, are what a lot of innovative companies have. So I can definitely say that those are great attributes to have as a very successful company. Now, what excites you most about the future when you think about the next 6 to 12 months? And I say 6 to 12 months because obviously biopharma moves very quickly. It's very clear that Karyopharm is not an exception.
Yeah, so we have a lot going on in the company. Despite the fact that we're only about a 300-person company, we're doing an awful lot. We have plans to submit a new FDA request for an approval in patients with a form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma called DLBCL. Great unmet medical need. We hope to submit that in the next 6 to 8 months. We have a big trial going on in multiple myeloma itself, but instead of in patients who are the last line whose disease has progressed with available therapies, this would be in multiple myeloma patients whose disease has progressed after only one prior therapy. Much earlier lines of therapy, many more patients relevant to this. That's the Boston phase 3 study that'll be coming up. We have a phase 3 study going on in a cancer called liposarcoma, which is a fairly rare tumor, but it's an extreme unmet medical need. We have a phase 3 study there, and if that looks good, we'll be filing that for approval. And finally, in patients with uterine cancer, we have a phase 3 study ongoing. We should have data within the next 15 or 18 months.
Very busy couple of months for you coming up. But
lots happening.
Congratulations on the FDA approval. Again, I can only imagine how much work went into it, and onward.
Thank you very much. It's great for patients. It's great for all of our Karyopharm shareholders and all the stakeholders involved. And we just keep hoping to change medicine and making cancer care better.
That's such a great mission. Dr. Kaufman, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time and hope to have you back here in the studio soon for a bell ceremony, hopefully.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Nasdaq followers, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Nasdaq Spotlight. Stay tuned for more coverage coming to you live right here from the Nasdaq market.